Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. So today, Astra Militarum week begins. The week we honour the men and women who, some may say, are the true heroes of the Imperium. This week I really hope to show there is so much more to the Guard than just the meat-grinding, tank-pounding battles. And where better to begin than with the legend of Commissar Yarrick. Spoiler warning to begin, the events we are discussing today are from the Warhammer 40k novel Hell's Reach by ADB. As always, I really recommend you read the story for yourself first, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. Not only that, we help to support the great Games Workshop and Black Library, because without them, we don't have this amazing lore to talk about. I will put a link in the description as always. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Hell's Reach, one of the most fabled Warhammer 40k novels of all time. If you've never read it, my friends, then boy, I do recommend it. The story of Grimaldus and the Black Templars as they strive to defend Hive Hell's Reach upon the war-torn world of Armageddon. This particular scene takes place before the outbreak of the Third War, as the commanders of the forces of the Imperium assemble to prepare and discuss strategy for the war to come, to brace for the impact of Ghazkol's forces. Now this gathering of commanders is a sight to behold. Chapter masters by the dozen, captains for countless more, and colonels and generals of the Militarum by the score. It's quite possibly the greatest assembly of leaders since the Primarchs themselves walked the stars. But for all this might, for all these egos, there is one man who commands the room into silence. Hades Hive will not survive the first week. The man speaking is ancient, and he looks every hour of his age. What keeps him on his feet is a mixture of minimal rejuve chem surgeries, crude bionics, and a faith in the Emperor founded in hatred for the enemies of man. He should not hold rank here, not to the degree he does. He is merely a commissar in the Imperial Guard, and such a title does not tend to make generals, colonels, Astartes captains and chapter masters remain in polite silence when it comes to tactical planning. Yet, to the humans at this war council and the citizens of Armageddon, he is the old man, a beloved hero of the Second War, 57 years ago. Not just a hero, the hero. His name is Sebastian Yarrick. Even we Astartes must respect that name. And when he tells us all that Hades Hive will be destroyed within a matter of days, 100 Imperial commanders, human and Astartes alike, hang on his every word. What a passage that is. What a description. A few short lines at best, yet every word just fills you with a fervour of respect for Yarrick. Just listen to those words. The physical portrayal of what is quite simply an old man, held together by surgeries and sheer faith in the Emperor. A simple commissar, no general, no colonel, and for sure no chapter master of the Astartes. Yet the room is silent. His reputation speaks for itself. Not just a hero, the hero. His name is Sebastian Yarrick. Even we Astartes must respect that name. Now that is a very powerful statement. The Adeptus Astartes so often above the concern of the mere mortals they fight to protect, let alone the soldiers of the Militarum, who display a true courage a Space Marine could never hope to equal. Sure, the Space Marines know no fear, but it's knowing fear, feeling fear, and still not giving in, still fighting on, still giving everything you have. That's the mark of true courage. And Sebastian Yarrick is the very personification of it. The hero of Armageddon, the defender of Hades Hive, who took on an orc war boss in close combat, losing his own hand, but through sheer steel of will, still took the orc's head with his chainsword, before ripping the greenskin's power claw from his body, holding it aloft for all to see, inspiring the defenders and terrifying the greenskin mob. It's a tale I have known since I was a kid, and it's still one of the best ones out there. The meeting continues with Yarrick leading the briefing, his face gaunt and his missing hand left as a stump outside of battle. He addresses some of the most legendary figures in the Imperium, Helbrecht of the Black Templars and Gabriel Seth of the Flesh Tearers, to name but two. But the Commissar spares no punches. He assesses the situation in cold military logic, telling them all bluntly that though the defense of Hades Hive in the last war was the key to the Imperium's victory, it will not be here. And though most of the hundreds of heads murmur their agreement, one Space Marine captain voices his disagreement, believing Yarrick to be wrong, that the Emperor's Angels of Death, his Adeptus Astartes, can hold the Hive, and he too receives some rumbles of support, no doubt from his fellow Marines. And it's here Grimaldus himself of the Black Templars voices his agreement with the Commissar. The Orcs don't come for a grudge. They don't come for vengeance. They come for the sheer thrill of the fight. They come for the fight itself. And this just incites the captain, named Amorous, further, claiming that if anything, Grimaldus's words prove his own point all the more, and the debate between himself and Grimaldus continues to rise, eventually peaking with Amorous declaring they cannot allow Hades Hive to fall, that it's a symbol of the world's and the Imperium's defiance. And this is where, if even you've never known Yarrick before this, you'll begin to understand why he's so revered. As the Commissar bellows enough, silencing the argument, conceding that Grimaldus's words ring true, Aramas refuses to be silenced, the arrogance of the Astartes seeping through. I will not be silenced by a mortal, Amaras growled, but the fight was gone from him. Yarrick, the thin, ancient Commissar, just stared at the Astartes captain. After several moments, Amaras looked back to the hololithic table. Yarrick turned back to the gathered officers, his one human eye stern. Hades will not survive the first week, he said again, this time shaking his head. Now this has to be one of the most badass understated moments outside of a battlefield you will ever see. A captain of the Adeptus Astartes refusing to be silenced by a mortal, only to be silenced by said mortal, without even uttering a single word. Just absolute understated badassery at its best. Yarrick just staring down a captain of the Adeptus Astartes. With a look. With just a look. Through sheer force of will. He didn't even need to utter a single word. This is why the reputation of Yarrick speaks for itself. Ah man, it's only been day 1 of Militarum Week and I already want to start an army, led by Commissar Yarrick. Oh, it's gonna be a long week. This whole short scene is just an absolute masterclass of writing by the author ADB. It really is. If you haven't read this one in a while, guys, do yourself a favour and go grab it off your bookshelf. Dust it off and give it a read, even if it's just for this couple of short pages. This story isn't even about Yarrick, yet here, in this small appearance, he absolutely steals the show. And rightly so. Like I said, this guy's been a legend since I was a kid. You've got Astartes legends like Helbrecht and Gabriel Seth, listening to the words of this lowly commissar in complete silence. Such is the respect he is due. You've got to think if Amaras had kept up the argument, one of these Astartes icons would have just backhanded the respect into him. But such it was. Yarrick certainly didn't need any help whatsoever. He didn't even need to say another word. The old man has faced down orc war bosses and Gazkol himself. He certainly doesn't need a hand in shutting up one jumped up Astartes captain. And it's just a mark of the commander he is that he knows full well that Hades Hive will fall, and fall quickly. The scene of his greatest triumph. The birth of his own legend. So many people in that situation would flood the hive with defenders, desperate to protect it, to protect themselves, to keep their own symbol alive. But Yarrick doesn't care for such things. He doesn't care for selfish pride. He cares only to win. Hades Hive will fall. No matter how many defenders they may send within its ruined walls, and the men will be sent instead to hives that can be saved. The old man knows it, and they are the orders he gives. In the opening week of the conflict, he was proved exactly right. You do not underestimate the old man, Sebastian Yarrick. Man, what a great little encounter that was. Literally just a few short passages, but such a strong portrayal of a legend. A different look at the Guard from the madness of the battlefield. A perfect example that the heroes of the Guard stand tall not just on the battlefield, but in so many ways. You could say that this is the real battlefield many commanders of the Militarum have to walk. But as always guys, what do you think? How many commissars within the Militarum could stand tall within such a congregation? Or any leaders for that matter of the Astra Militarum would have the silence of chapter masters of the Astartes? And how many of them could silence an Astartes captain without even uttering a single word? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers. Your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again tomorrow as Astra Militarum Week continues.